Hi there, Marcus here from Fourpos. Let's try and make this barcode printer of ours a little bit easier for people to use. Alright, so first of all, when you get the barcode printer, it will have the thermal paper included in the box. Might be a smaller roll, but still thermal paper. Thermal paper, easy to identify. You draw a line on it with your nail, and you can see it makes a black line, or use a lighter or something. In other words, it burns the paper. This is obviously thermal labels as well. So let's open it up. I'm going to switch it off so that it doesn't make a noise. Switching off, opening up the lid on the right hand side, and as you can see from the label, it's got little feeders, for want of a better word, that will grip the label in its place. So if I just pull that to the right, I can actually take the whole roll out. It's got a little roller spool for you to put it on. Not really necessary, but it can help. Okay. So there's your thermal paper. You drop it inside, and to keep the paper nice and tidy and lined up, what you will do is you'll put it into the printer like that, and then you'll just simply push the right hand feeder. Somebody said yesterday it doesn't move. It does move. You must just be nice and slow and soft with it. Okay. Sorry, pushed it a little bit too far away. Let me try again. Alright, and there we go. It's nice in position, holding the label in nicely in its place. So the label won't move. It won't move away from the paper sensor, which is hidden away here at the bottom of the label. So if it doesn't pick up the label or the paper, it's because it's not completely on the left. As you can see, the left-hand guide is completely in its place and it's fixed. So we won't attach that or change that by any means. Alright, so as I say, the barcode printer is shipped with a setting that says barcode labels will be used on the printer, and then simply when you close the lid, okay, well, let's do it the other way around. If we switch the printer on now, it will obviously just simply make a noise. You'll see it goes beep 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 beep, very irritating noise. And when we close the lid properly, okay, it will advance the paper a little bit. Okay, if it doesn't do that, if it keeps on screaming, it's because you've got the wrong paper in. Alright, so let's try that exercise. I'm going to change the paper quickly. Alright, so I've changed the paper now. Printer is still off. You will see that I've also put my paper into the same guides. You don't need to, but it does help. Close the lid, switch the printer on. And when I switch the printer on now, it's going to advance a little bit. And more and scream. Okay, the reason it's screaming, it's saying no, I've been set to label mode. You cannot put thermal paper in me without changing the mode. So to change it, we will switch off again, change back to the label paper. Okay, my label paper is back in again, and as you can see now, it doesn't make a noise anymore. In other words, it's quite happy with the paper that I've got. Alright, and that's how we do it. So now if you want to say, but hang on, I do want to actually use it now as a receipt printer. In other words, I want to change the paper. Quite simple little process. We're switching it off. Try the process again. Finger on the feed and the pause button, switching on, holding it in until it's going to print something for me. Holding, and it's printed. Okay, now they printed a little piece there. It's not very clear. I'm going to try and do it this way. And basically what it says is that printing mode selected, or a set printing mode. Sorry, it's English friends, English sometimes not as good as it should be. So now it's saying that it's been set to printing mode, meaning receipt printing. Alright, which means that I can now switch off, change my paper to my thermal paper, or my thermal receipt paper, change it back in, put it in the guide again if I want to. Alright, close the lid, switch on. Alright, so now that my receipt printer paper is in, as you can see, also important to note that the paper goes in like this. In other words, it feeds from the top. If you can see there, the same with this one, the paper that's in there, I'm just going to hold it like this, feeding from the top. Most of our printers have got a little sticker on the side to show you how the paper must be inserted. And when you insert the paper, the lip just goes past the little wheel here. Here's the little wheel, as you can see, that will push it forward or move the paper, shall I say. and this is what you'll do, is you'll just get it in there and just move it past a little bit. Okay, let me just feed it through the guide there. First little bit really doesn't matter. Alright, pulling it out, closing the lid, and I'm done. Alright, so to do a test page, just to make sure that the printer on its own is working fine, you can do a normal self-test on the printer. Printer is off, finger on the feed button, and switching on. Alright, and it prints a self-test for me, and as you can see, proper English, or shall I say English at least. Might not be proper, but it's set for English mode. It's now set for a receipt printer, and you'll be able to print a receipt from your point of sale program, whether that be 4POS or anything else. And that's the way of changing it around. Obviously the reverse will be true. In other words, if I want to go back to labels, I will do exactly the same. In other words, the reverse of that. I'll leave my thermal paper in, then switch off, press the finger on the pause and feed, wait for it to print label mode. In fact, let's do that quickly. Switching off, feed and pause together, holding it in, switching on, give it time, hold it, hold it, hold it, and it now prints on the piece of paper there, label printing mode. Okay, alright, and it's now set for labels. So now I can change my labels around. So take my thermal paper out, put my thermal labels back in, and away I am. Alright, adjust my little guide again, and it's there. So it's a very simple little process for you to then change from the one to the other. Alright, one last thing I want to show you, that obviously the printer can handle shelf talkers as well. This is a typical label 30 by 90, in other words 30 mm high, 90 mm wide. And it will be like this. This is a smallish label. In other words, it's a label that we had specially made originally for these as samples. But if you have a very long or a big roll of labels, they're typically about this size, then the inside of the printer is literally just too small to handle it. Okay, so I can't fit it in there. It can't go in there. The cover can't close, and if the cover can't close, it's going to make a mess. So what you will do then, as you will literally feed it from the back. I'm just going to use the same label to show you. So at the back here, there's a little feeder slot, turning it all upside down. There's the feeder slot, and I'm going to just feed my labels through there. That's a lot simpler than trying to get the label, roll labels shorter or smaller then so that it fits in. So it can fit in there clearly. I can still use my guide, and I'm ready to print. Okay. And your roll can either lie here, you can make a little stand for it, or whatever the case may be, or let it lie on the floor for that matter, and print from there.